When the COVID pandemic began in 2020, I had a conversation with a former colleague who works for the World Health Organization. They turned to me and said, pandemics, these are 3 to 5 year events. And hasn't that turned out to be our experience? We're now in 2024. And in many ways, I think it's only in this year that we think we're really coming out of COVID and putting it behind us. There's a new life and new activity taking place in many of our churches. Perhaps you'll have seen this just recently at your Easter services, where I was in churches where many people were coming to be with us. Last autumn, Bishop Ruth and I were privileged to see extraordinary growth and development and activity taking place all round our diocese as we took part in the autumn visits to deaneries. And even our church statistics seem to show that our churches may be growing now and have been for the last 2 years, further to the hit that we took during the COVID pandemic. So the question I'm asking is, what do we need to do now? If we're entering a new phase in our lives, how can we get behind what the Spirit is doing so that we can look forward to the future with confidence and with joy? It seems to me that what we need to concentrate on now are 2 things: growing our churches and transforming our communities. For when we look around the world, surely there can have been few times when transformation of communities is more needed than it is now. We look at the international situation, we look at the contraction of services around our own country, we look for signs of hope amongst people, and often those are lacking. We need to speak to people about the good news of Jesus Christ and the difference that good news can make into the lives of local communities in real, tangible ways that transform lives. And to do that, we need to grow our church so we can deliver on the promises that we make. How are we to go about this? Should we have some grand diocesan programme that could help our churches grow? I don't think that's going to work. I believe passionately that the expertise, the understanding, the passion to grow our churches rests principally at the local level with parish churches, where folk know the assets and resources that they have, the expertise that they're able to muster, the opportunities that present in particular local situations. Surely church growth must always come from the local. Yes, we do see some common themes right across the diocese that we associate with the health and vitality of our churches. So we see that when we value and cherish the people and resources that we already have. We see that when we're brave in faith to step out and grow new worshipping Christian communities. We see growth happening when we share ministry locally with lots of different people playing their part in the lives of our churches. And we see growth happen most of all when we tap into the engine room of our faith, growing our discipleship, putting down deep roots into the goodness of God that encourages us to do so much. All this sounds like quite a big challenge, you're probably thinking, and you'd be quite right. That's why, as a diocese together, we have a whole number of people available to help and support local churches to come up with the right approaches for where you are and to support the right things happening that you've decided to grow the church in your locality. So please do call upon our support services. They're here for you. But I'd like to make this just a little bit more specific Otherwise, what I'm suggesting could sound a bit like motherhood and apple pie. So I've a particular challenge to make to all the parishes of our diocese. Would it be possible for you, through prayer and under God's grace, to identify the kind of approach that you might take to grow your church by one adult net during the next year and by one child net during the next year? If we were able to do that, that would change our lives so much for the better. If we could sustain such growth over a number of years, it would transform who we are and how we feel about all that we're seeking to do. I invite your church, your PCC, everybody you have around you to think about what could happen where you are to see such growth occur so that you can be there in your local community as an agent of God's transforming power, bringing about the life of the kingdom where you are. I've put across quite a number of ideas to you today. They're contained probably rather better in this booklet that we've produced for our diocese, which is called Living and Telling the Story of Jesus, Growing Church, Transforming Communities. This publication is available on our diocesan website. I encourage you to read it, have a good look at it, argue with it, tell us what you think about it. It contains lots of stories of amazing things that are going on right across our diocese, and I hope you'll really enjoy reading it. But most of all, I hope you'll use it as inspiration to think in your local area what it might mean to grow your church and transform your community. Thank you.